Hello again. I wanted to give you a few more ideas with the Gilded Leafing Embellishment. So I already did an intro video to just kind of explain what it is and how you use it with the heat and stick powder. So be sure to check that video out if you haven't seen it. But I want to show you a couple of other things that I did with it that are maybe not quite as obvious. So first of all, I took a piece of Bumblebee cardstock and embossed it with the painted texture folder. And now I'm going to take my Versamark ink and just kind of run it a little bit on each corner. So I'm just kind of hitting the raised edges that were embossed so you can kind of see where the Versamark is. It's random. Just gonna add some heat and stick powder to those spots. I'm gonna give it a little whack to get the excess off. So you can see where the powder is in either corner. And I'm just going to heat that. Remember, the trick here with the heat and stick powder is to melt it, but not overheat it, because if you overheat, then it becomes not sticky. So let me move my embellishment over so I don't end up blowing that. So I'm just gonna heat it until it's melted. I don't want to overheat. And you see the dark color that it becomes when it's melted. All right, don't want to overdo. And then I'm going to pull in my Gilded Leafing Embellishment. And remember, I put it in this container just to make it a little easier to work with rather than the jar that it comes in. Like I said, if you didn't watch my intro video, be sure to go back and take a look at that one. It's so crazy how it looks at first. All right, so, and like I said, it makes a little bit of a mess, but if you use a container like this, it keeps it relatively tidy in your workspace. It just kind of keeps the mess in the container. So I'm just kind of pressing it in to where that heat and stick powder was. And of course it looks a little bit crazy because there's a lot of excess, and that's where the sponge comes in. So I'm just going to gently go over it and get some of the extra off. It's going to stick where that heat and stick powder was. So anything else I want to come off, because if it doesn't come off now as I'm doing this, it will eventually, because it doesn't have that melted powder underneath to hold it in place. So I'm just continuing to go over it, giving it a little bit more pressure now to really make sure that it's only sticking where that powder was. And then of course, whack off the extra. And so it looks a little, interesting, we'll say, in those corners. But what I did is I took this piece then and put it underneath, and that's where I got this little splash of the Gilded Leafing in the corners here. And you'll see, if you watch the intro video, I think I've perfected my flower, well, as perfect as it's gonna get, right? By melting, and as soon as it's done melting, taking the heat tool off, because that's really, there's that window of time. If you overheat, it becomes not sticky anymore. So I did the Gilded Leafing on the flower, and then I did this technique that I just showed to do that background layer and just add that splash on either corner. All right, one other thing I want to show you is with this piece of designer paper. So I'm going to put it on a card base. So this is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I'm going to take my just Stampin' Seal adhesive, and I'm going to do some random lines of adhesive. And I am going over on my scrap paper just a little bit, and that's okay. They're entirely random. Every time you do it, it's gonna be a little different. Just gonna get a little bit up there. Okay. I think you can see the strips of adhesive, and that's just from the Stampin' Seal. So I don't have to use the heat and stick powder for this one because I've got the stickiness from the Stamp and Seal adhesive. So then I can just set this whole piece in, press it down into the Gilded Leafing. Again, it looks like a crazy mess. But what I want to do is just make sure that all of that area where that adhesive was gets covered up. So I'm just going to set pieces on there, push it down. You could do this, I think this is the easiest way, because you could you know, put some adhesive on a layer underneath and then cut your designer paper into strips to get a similar effect. And actually that's what I did first, but then this turned out to be way easier. Take some of that extra over here and just press it down. All right, let's see how that is. So I'll pull in the sponge, start going over it to get rid of the extra, and you'll see wherever that strip of adhesive was is where I'm getting the stripes. On the designer paper. So it just really adds an element of interest on the background here to have that gold leafing embellishment. All right, tidy up the corners there, edges, tap off the extra. And you get the idea. So I could take this and put it on my card base and then pretend the colors match. And, you know, I mean, you can add, I'll just go this way just for the, you know, so it just adds an element of interest on the background there to have that additional gold leafing. Or you could do something simple on this one, more along these lines, like this card, and just do a label down here with a greeting or something on there. So just another way to use the gold leafing. I just wanted to show you what I've been playing with. Like I said, it's all part of the Fine Art Floral product suite, which is the focus of my free card kit in the mail for this month. So if you're interested in the Gilded Leafing Embellishment, make sure you get that heat and stick powder so you can do some of these other fun techniques that I showed. But just know too that you can use your regular Stamp and Seal adhesive to do something fun like this. All right, thanks so much for watching.